Hey guys, Tammy here. I hope to find everybody doing good. We're doing pretty good. We're holding down everything till cold weather sets in. We've had on and off spells of down in the 20s, but we've had a lot of 50s, and actually we had some high 60s and stuff this past week a couple times. But I've been doing a ton of different things. I've got a couple shorts that I put out, but I also have been going through my dehydrator in the late fall when I'm scrambling up grabbing everything else that I can possibly harvest at the time. I tend to throw it all in my dehydrator and just leave my dehydrator cracked and let it dehydrate on its own, and that's what I did yesterday. One of the things, which I'd actually made another clip, but I decided to make another because it wasn't very good. One of the things that I did share on that I wanted to mention before I forget about it is my comfrey. I harvest my comfrey throughout the year to put in my compost teas and stuff like that. But the last of the season, I tend to harvest it for my medicinal purposes. And when I do that, I take the stalks, because I don't use the stalks when I use the medicinal. I just scrape them off kind of like I would if I was stripping collards or mustard greens. I strip the stalks off, and I keep the stalks, and I lay them in my dehydrator and just let them dry. And so in the spring, whenever I get ready to start up another brew of compost tea, I've got those stalks to just throw in there and get to going. But I wanted to share that right quick because them stalks are important. Even if you're harvesting for your medicinal purposes, you can use those stalks for that very purpose. So I wanted to mention that. There was a couple other things I mentioned in that video. Most of it was what I'm about to tell you now, but I may click and hit some others that I'm not thinking of. I wanted to show you, this is part of I've got bigger jugs. You can see this bigger jug right here. In my sewing room, I've also got a lot of bigger jugs of things that I use a lot of, which this here's my nettle, and my nettle is my #1 tea that I make. I put it in any tea just about that I make, if I'm adding something else or whatever. And I do teas, I do tinctures, and mostly teas and tinctures is the main things I do, but there's some that I make salves. I do have a salve that I make that I haven't had to make in a few years. I'm probably going to make some this coming year just because I just probably need to. But I wanted to share how I do mine, maybe give somebody else some other ideas that works on this themselves, or maybe somebody that's just starting out in this, and they'll get some ideas of what to do. But up here, you can see I've got different kinds of jars. I've got random jars that don't necessarily have to be mason jars or medicine jars, as they also put. But I also like to put, as you'll see, a piece of coffee filter in between. And the reason I do this is because I have had herbs that I thought were dry. I really thought they were dry, but they weren't dry, and they mildewed and molded. So I always do this to them. That way, if there's something in there that ain't dry, you can. And I've even put some of those little moisture tabs in here before too. And see, here's another random jar. If you're positive that it's dry good, some herbs dry better than others. Some of them contain moisture better, like this marshmallow. Marshmallow can contain moisture more. So I try to make sure things that are that way can. I wanted to tell you this too. I grew ashwagandha this year. It's the first year I've actually grown ashwagandha. I take it every night. I do it for different reasons. I do it for my sleep, for one thing. You can do it for your hormones, and that's your thyroid and such, and adrenals, and that's the biggest reason I use it. But anyway, I've got some straggler leaves in the bottom of this. This was just off of that last plant that I had 2 plants that I grew. I left one in the ground, and I pulled this one up. This was the smaller one, just to play around with it and see what I do. But I had been gathering leaves off of this one all summer to make teas with. But I also got the roots in here too. And you can roast those roots, or you don't have to roast those roots. And I'm probably going to make a tincture actually from these roots, just because I want to get everything out of it that I possibly can get with alcohol. But anyway, I didn't mean to go into that. I just wanted to basically share with you how I put all this together. Now, a lot of people may say, well, Tammy, you get a lot of light. Or here's a window, actually. A lot of light coming in here. Well, I've kind of remedied that. We're in my laundry room, by the way. And I just put this little curtain up here. And I like it in my laundry room because, oh, that scared me and you both. Because it's close to the kitchen, and I'm more disciplined to come in here and make my teas and things like that if it's nearby. And I like that about it. I also suggest you keep some type of scoop or whatever if you do medicinal teas a lot. Keep some kind of scoop nearby as well to be able to just, you know, make yourself do it. And that's the key to a lot of this medicinal stuff. A lot of times you'll gather a lot of things, but you won't necessarily use it, not on a maintenance basis until you need it as an actual strong medicinal purpose. And when you make a stronger medicinal purpose, you actually lessen your amount of water than you do whenever you're just doing a maintenance of keeping that flowing through your system, those vitamins and minerals and things. And you get more vitamins and minerals from these things than you will anything on the market, in my opinion. And if your soil, especially if your soil is amended the way it needs to be amended, and it's getting the right minerals and nutrition from the soil. And that's another thing that I'll probably be going into more this summer through regenerative farming. And that's something that's really became strongly dear to my heart in the past couple years, actually. But I had an episode last year that really made me dig into it even deeper, and I want to get into that some this coming spring, maybe even before then, I don't know. But one of the things I will actually share with you here in a moment. But also my tinctures. I keep these olive oil bottles, and I put my tinctures in these a lot of times. I also keep bottles like this here was an iodine bottle that I kept, and I've got eye infection medicine in it, or ear infection medicine in it. I've got these little bottles. These are essential oil bottles that I keep, that I've got different medicinal things in it. This in here is a dandelion root tincture. I've got it ready to go. That's one that came from a essential oil bottle as well. And I keep those in a little cabinet that's right down here below to keep them out of the light, which they're in the amber bottles, which makes a huge difference in allowing the light to come. And the reason you don't want the light to come is because it takes away from those properties that your herbs have in them to be able to be of use. That's why to me, that's why I don't like to dry anything in the sun. There's some people that do. I don't. I like to dry everything. Either I lay it in my dehydrator, or I have a big screen, which you've probably heard that before if you've watched any of my medicinal videos, that I have a big screen that I like to lay things out on, and put them up under a shade tree, or put them out under something where if the wind ain't blowing it anyway, sometimes on the porch. So just different places like that. I don't like to hang them in the sun, like around the windows and stuff. To me, that's a no-no, but that's me. Anyway, I wanted to share this with you. Look at that. Don't that look lovely? Look how yucky gooey that is. If you took the lid off, it'd be even yuckier. This is some of my compost tea. At the end of the season, I like to bottle up, which I save these jars, and I know this is plastic, but still, it's got to be better than 3/4 of everything else in this world when it comes to Miracle Grow and all that kind of junk. But this is some of my compost tea, and like I said, I jar it up, and I still have some that's out here that I haven't jarred up, that's still in the big tub that I have it in. And what I'm going to do with it is later on, after I gather throughout the winter here, I keep gathering things to put in my compost pile, and I will pour that compost tea on there, because it's been inoculated with different microbes and all that kind of stuff that I've put in it from past, and it will inoculate my compost pile and help it break down and put the things right back in the soil that needs to be put back in the soil, and all those fun things. But what I do through this time of year is, this here is probably a half a gallon. I don't really know, to be honest. I will put a couple of tablespoons, and it don't take much of this compost tea. It's a lot more concentrated than people realize it is, because you can kill plants, and even sometimes some plants don't even like the amount that I put in. I've got some ferns that they don't like it when I put this in there. So be aware of that. But I think that's the only thing I've got that don't really like it. It's too strong for them. So I normally just water them straight. I don't even put none of this on it, just for that reason. But anyway, I put about 2 tablespoons in this, half a gallon. Maybe not even 2 tablespoons. I just go is what I do. So maybe a tablespoon. This is a half a gallon. I guess, yeah, that's what I'll say. I'll say 1 tablespoon for a half a gallon and 2 for a gallon, whatever. And I water my plants with that throughout the year. And I also put this in a spray bottle, and I spray my plants. I'm talking about my indoor plants, my house plants and things like that I spray them with to help put those minerals on them and in them. They're getting that rainwater, because this is rainwater. This is rainwater. This isn't. This is tap water, which sometimes I let it sit out if I got time to. If I don't, I don't. So I can't get too technical with that, but they do get the good stuff from this here. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. I don't know if any of you do any of these things or not. If you do, I'd like to hear what you do and how you do it. But I wanted to share this and let you know that spring will be here before we know it. I'm already getting antsy about looking through my seeds. I've already ordered a bunch of seeds. So it won't be long. We'll be digging in the dirt again. Anyway, God bless you guys. I'll talk to you later.